Okay, hello. Today I'm going to show you how to create this montage, Little Red Riding Hood montage, and you can see there's about 7 different images that make up this composition. Let me just show you first. I have created a folder on the desktop, Little Red Riding Hood montage, and then if I open that up, here are the images. The first one is the blonde girl, Amanda, her name is, from the film. Then you have a log cabin, a full moon, the title itself for the movie, Into the Woods, a model dressed as Riding Hood, a werewolf, and an actual wolf. And lastly, a lovely picture of some green woods. Okay, so the very first thing that I do is I create a canvas in Photoshop. So we just go to File and New, and the size of my canvas will be in inches. It's going to be 10 inches wide by 8 inches high. The pixels will be per inch, and we'll make it 300. Remember, there's only 2 numbers you have to remember here. 300 is always the resolution for printing, and 72 is always the resolution for screen-based display. Leave the color mode at RGB and then click OK. So there's our blank canvas. What I might start off by doing is I might change the background color to a sort of a medium value blue, so something like that. The quickest way to change the background color is to select the layer, and I might just drag that out here so you can see it. Select the layer for the background and just go Option Delete on your keyboard, and it changes the color automatically. Alright, let's begin. I'm going to go to File and Open, and I'll find my desktop folder. There it is. And the first image I want to open is the green woods, which is that one there. Now I have already selected images that are quite large from Google. Most of them are over 4 megs in size. If I now want to select the entire image, I can simply go to Select All from the menu, or alternatively, I can go Command A on my keyboard and then press Command C for copy. Once I've copied the image that I want, I can just close it. There's a little cross there, I just close that and go back to my destination canvas, which is this one. And I can then go Command V for paste, and you have it there as layer 1. I might change the name to Woods. Always a good idea to rename your layers. If I go Command T now, which stands for transform, you can actually see that the image that I pasted is bigger than my 8x10 canvas. Now I can move it, yes. I can shift drag to make it a bit smaller to fit the canvas, but that's about it. Remember the golden rule, you can reduce a pasted image to make it fit, but you should never enlarge anything to make it fit the canvas. Otherwise it'll pixelate when you print. Now, I'm not happy with just having the green woods. I want to turn them into blue woods to create like a moody, eerie environment. The quickest way to do that, you can either go to this is the slow way, you can go to the image menu, choose adjustments and choose hue and saturation. But you can see here the keyboard shortcut is Command U. So the quickest way is to simply press Command U and move the slider for hue. Now if I move it all the way to the left, you can see the colors changing from green to blue. I might just bring the saturation down a little bit and click OK. Now see these white areas of the sky? If I want the white to disappear and blend with the background color, I can go here in the layer palette and choose a layer effect called Multiply. And what it does, it simply blends the layer or the picture of the woods with the background color. Alright. The next thing I might open up will be the cabin. Now this is where I'm going to demonstrate different selection techniques. Here's the cabin. If I want to just select the cabin and nothing else, obviously I've got lots of different tools I can use. The one that I think would work best is the polygonal lasso tool, the polygon tool. So if I click on that, this is a point and click technique. So if I start at the tip of the cabin and simply go around the shape of the cabin, now I'm not going to be too precious, I'm just going to quickly go around these logs, nothing too fancy. I could zoom in if I wanted to, but just to prove a point, very quickly, here I go all the way around, a few extra logs there, and you can hear me clicking away. And when I get to the top where I started, I simply click and Photoshop turns my polygon clicks into a selection. And from here on, I can do the copy and paste wrap. So copy, close the picture of the cabin, edit, paste, and there's my cabin. It's not bad. I might decide to make it smaller. So Command T and Shift drag. Remember, Command T, Shift drag, you hold the Shift key if you want to keep it in proportion. You can also go to the corner here and rotate it a little bit. And then I can press the Return key on my keyboard, or the Enter key if you're a PC user. And there you have it, my shrunken cabin in the corner of my frame. Now, if I wanted to flip the cabin around, which I do, I can go to the Edit menu, down to Transform, and there it is. Flip horizontal is the command, and it just basically does that. At the same time, I might just rotate it a bit that way, and I might move it. Now let's go back to the Move tool. Not a bad thing to do once you're finished with your selection tools, to go back to the Move tool, and that way you won't get into trouble. So I might just move it there. Good. What's next? Let's have a look. Open. Oh, look, I might bring the wolf in next. So that's the grey wolf. Open that up. Now I just want the face of the wolf, nothing else. So I know from experience that the lasso would be the best tool for this. Now it's not enough just to go and select the face with the lasso. Remember, this is freehand drawing. If I copied that, watch what happens. If I copy that and paste it down, I get a really ugly hard edge. So I don't want that. What I want to do is, before I lasso, I'll just deselect that, Command D, I have to go up to where it says feather, and the number that I type in here will determine how soft the edge is of my selection. So again, from experience, I'm going to type in 140 as the number for my feather, and let's see if this works. I'm just going to do a drag with my mouse around the face, let go. Now it's selected. I can copy that, close the picture of the wolf, and paste. There it is. That's exactly what I want. With any luck, you get this soft edge. Back to the Move tool, and I'm going to position the face there. Now I also want to blend the face of the wolf so it looks like a ghost peering through the trees. The way I do that is I can change the normal layer effect all the way to the bottom to luminosity. Luminosity simply blends the image with the background, in this case the trees and the blue background. I can further ghost it by dialing down the opacity. Now, as you can see, the lower the number, the more transparent the wolf appears. So I'm happy with that. And that's another selection technique. Let's keep going. All right, how about we bring in the full moon? All right, now this is an interesting one because I can use two different types of tools to select the moon. The first one I can select is the magic wand. Remember, the magic wand works beautifully if you've got an area of equal value. So in this case, the black is the same value. If I click on the black with the magic wand, Photoshop will select the black. But I don't want the black, I want the moon. So I simply go to Select, and choose inverse, which basically means swap around, and now you can see I've got the moon. That's one way of selecting something like the moon on a black background. If, for instance, the moon was on a very dark, cloudy sky, the magic wand probably won't work. So then I've got to go to another tool, and in this case I know to use this tool here, the elliptical marquee tool. Now, you can't just drag and draw a circle like that, because that's what the elliptical tool does. It draws circles or ellipses. What I need to do is guess where I think my starting point is. Now, if I hold the Shift key and I start around about there and drag my mouse, it'll give me a circle. Now, it's not going to be perfect. You can see I'm kind of like off target, off register. But if I let go here, on the keyboard I've got some arrow keys. I can tap on the arrow keys, in this case the down arrow and then the right arrow, and I can nudge it into position. That's not bad. Happy with that. Doesn't have to be perfect. So now I have selected the moon with the elliptical marquee tool. Back to copy. Close that now. Don't save. And paste. Now, this is interesting. Yes, I have got my moon. It is pasted at the top of the stack. So naturally, it is the closest thing to me. It's in front of the cabin. It's in front of everything. If I want it behind the cabin, I have to change its position in the layer palette. So in this case, it's simply moving it down the stack so it sits behind the cabin. And if I just move it a bit further down, it won't interrupt. I'll just move the wolf a little bit higher. I don't like the nose being there. I'll just move that a bit higher. But yeah, I might just leave that there. I might bring the cabin a little bit lower, and we'll see how we go. Don't forget to name your layers, because you will get confused if you have too many layers. And that one is called moon. Yep, keep naming your layers. Look, I haven't saved this, which is wrong. I should have saved it at the start, so I might just go and save it now. The name of your file should always make sense. So this is going to be called Red Riding Hood Montage. That makes sense. I might even put down the measurements, 10 by 8 inches. And I'll save it to my Red Riding Hood folder, which is on the desktop, and leave it as the Photoshop format. Now, you can also click on this little arrow in case you don't know where your folder is, and that will let you select the desktop and then, of course, your folder. And I'm going to pop it in there and click OK. All right, so I've saved it. I'm happy now. I've got 4 layers happening. Now let's bring in the werewolf, which is basically a guy dressed up in a werewolf suit. Now, I've deliberately chosen this photo from Google because I wanted something on a plain background to then use the magic wand. So if I click anywhere here, you can see straight away it's picked up the background. Now, the magic wand works with this thing called tolerance, which is up here. If the number is too low, like let's say it was on 3, it may not pick up all the edges. In fact, if I zoom in, you can see on 3, it hasn't done a great job. It's missed hugging the edge of the costume. So just make sure that you've got a high enough number. Look, 40 should do it. So if I click again with 40, that's better. It's now definitely hugging the edge of the costume. Now, the magic wand has selected once again the background, which is the white, not the werewolf. So I have to remember to go to select, choose inverse, and now Photoshop has swapped it around. I am comfortable that I've got the selection around the costume and the werewolf person. All right, so once again, copy and paste, copy here, close that picture, and paste. And there he is. So, look, I can position him in, thankfully he's actually pasted in the correct spot because he's in between the cabin. If you look at my layer palette, is actually in between the cabin and the moon, which is exactly where I want it. I can leave it the same size, or I can go Command T, Shift drag, and just position it there. It might conflict with the nose of the wolf in the background, so I might just leave it there for now. I can always move that wolf across to there if I want, no big deal. Alright, so Magic Wand's working great because I've selected images that work with it. Let's open up the photo of Amanda, who played in the movie. Now, this is a little bit trickier because what I want is the girl and the tree trunk and maybe the green foliage here. So, look, I can use the lasso. I can just go around the girl. It's not going to be perfect and, tedious as well, but I won't use the lasso tool. The tool of choice for this will be the quick selection tool. Why? Because Photoshop lets me just press my mouse and drag around the face, and you can see if I let go of the mouse, it actually tries to predict where the edge of the head is. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. Once again, see how it's kind of jumped out there and it's picked up a bit of the background. If you don't want that, remember to hold the Option key and just say to Photoshop, look, I want you to deselect this part here. I don't want that. So even there. And it'll help train Photoshop to know where the edge is. Here we go. This will take a little bit of time. So just bear with me. Yeah, I do want that green foliage. I want the tree trunk. So I'm just pressing and dragging my mouse. Now a little bit more tree trunk here, thank you. A little bit there, thank you very much. Now I'll just Option and deselect this bit. So every time you hold the Option key, you're actually training Photoshop to know what to leave out. Now, I can fuss and pick up those little strands of hair, but that would take too long for this demo, so I'm not going to worry too much about getting this perfect. Yeah, that'll do. It's not going to be fantastic. There is other tools that can perfect the selection, so I can pick up every loose strand of her lovely blonde hair, but I'm happy with that. So that's the quick selection tool. Once again, as always, once you have got your selected area and you're happy with it, you go to Copy. Command C if you like. And then once you're finished with copy, you can close the picture. And let's see how this looks. I'm going to go then to Edit and Paste. Beautiful. So I know that I want this girl positioned over here. I might just transform that. Oh, too much. Don't want to go too small, otherwise it looks funny. And I know that she's around about here. Yeah, that'll do. Press Return to accept it, and I'm happy with that. The cabin now, strangely enough, sits behind the girl's shoulder. So all I've got to do is change the stacking order of my layer palette. So I'm just going to drag the cabin to the very top, and now that's where I want the cabin in front of the girl. In fact, in front of everything. So let me just rename this layer to Blonde Girl. Come on, Con. And don't forget to name this one to Werewolf. Good. And I might just go Command S to tell Photoshop to update the saving of this document. Good idea, every 10 minutes or every time you approve something in the creation of your artwork, just go Command S, once you've saved it initially, that is. Now, if you wanted to manipulate the colors of any photos, if you want to do a little bit of photo manipulation, just remember to always select the layer that you want to manipulate. So in this case, it's the girl. You can see that's her. And if I wanted to warm up the photo a little bit, I can go to Adjustments and Color Balance, which is Command B, or just press Command B. And watch this. If I click on the highlights, I can move the yellow slider across and a bit more red. Go to midtones, same thing, bit more yellow, bit more red, and the same with the shadows. Bit more yellow, bit more red. And there's a preview button. Watch this. Before, after. So you can do this. You can spend half a day correcting color of any photo, any image. The other thing you can do, of course, is levels, which again is under the image menu, or you can go Command A, and levels allows you to adjust brightness, contrast, midtones accordingly. Alright, now this is going to be interesting. I don't like that foliage at the bottom here, so what I can do is I can blend this blonde girl with the blue background. Now this is called image mask or layer mask. Now the way it works, there's about 3 steps involved. I select the layer, which I have, of the blonde girl, and then right down the bottom of the layer palette there's a little icon that looks like a camera. If I click on that, what I get is this white area that appears, like a white box that appears next to the blonde girl. This is the layer mask. Now nothing happens until I do this. I go over to the toolbar and I'll make sure that I've got black as my foreground color and white as my background color. Then I choose the gradient tool, which just happens to be this one. So again, black and white are my colors, gradient is the tool, and then starting from the bottom or around about here where the foliage is, if I drag and draw a straight line up towards her neck, Photoshop will blend or basically make that area disappear with what they call a gradient blend. Now if you look closely at what used to be the layer mask in the layer palette, it used to be white, now you can see it's got that gradient from black to white. Now this means that I can drag in any direction and it'll blend accordingly. Okay, so that's a nice useful feature. The only trap that I guess catches students out is sometimes they are not on the layer mask, they're actually on the image when they do this, and unfortunately they do that, which is not what you want. So always make sure that the layer mask is selected and then drag your mouse in the direction that you want the blend. And that's quite effective, and that's exactly the look that I want. Alright, so back to the move tool. We've got a couple more images to go. Command O for open. This time it's the model dressed as Little Red Riding Hood. Once again, it's a white background, which means one thing, magic wand. Click on the white background. Now, because my tolerance is at 40, it has done a pretty good job selecting everything, except if you notice at the bottom where her knee is, it's also picked up a little bit of her leg. So what I should do is deselect that, Command D, and bring down the tolerance. Maybe bring it down to 30 and try again. Ah, that's better. Notice it's now not picking up skin down the bottom. There is the area that is showing through the basket. Now, it hasn't picked that up. If you want to add an area to your selection, so if I want to add this white space that's see-through, that's through the basket, I simply have to hold down the Shift key and click again. And you can see that now I've picked up the white basket, or that white area within the basket. Alright, once again, because I have only selected the white and not the girl, I have to go to Select, choose Inverse, which will tell Photoshop to now swap it around, and instead of the background, I've now selected the girl and her basket with the magic wand. Copy, close the picture, and guess what? Paste. And now if I go Command T, I can shrink her, Shift drag, and position her over here. What a nice contrast. And I might just, look, I might just pop her there. Yeah, good. And lucky last is the actual logo. So let's open that up. Now, this logo I found on Google. If you look closely, the extension says PNG as opposed to JPEG. Now, if you are lucky to find a PNG icon or image on Google, you can't tell but a PNG usually means that the logo is on a transparent background, not a white background. What that means, if I open that up in Photoshop, see that checkerboard pattern? It just basically means that there's no white background. In fact, it's got no background at all. The logo is floating in thin air, in space, which means I don't need to use Magic Wand or any other tool. I can simply select the whole logo, select all, and I can copy it. And I'll show you what I mean. Command C, copy, close that. When I paste it, it's a logo without a background. It's exactly what I want. And I can position that roughly, shift drag with the transform function. I can position it here. And then press return. Obviously I want it in front of the cabin, so change the stacking order in your layer palette, and I'll go to the move tool, move it across, and there it is. And incidentally, if I wanted to rub out the word Disney, I just have to go to the eraser tool, and I might just make that a little bit bigger and rub out the word Disney. And from here on, I can make some artistic decisions about where things are. So if I wanted to move the moon further to the right, I select the layer for the moon and move it there. The same with the werewolf. Every time I want to make a change, I have to remember to select the layer. And even the cabin, I could decide to move the cabin to there. Now, what's that? That's the logo there, logo. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different layers. Perfect for the project because with your montage or collage, you are required to create a montage that has at least 6 different layers. So this is a good example. Red cloak girl. I'm just catching up with my naming. And that's essentially it. I have created my 10x8 Red Riding Hood montage, demonstrating a few selection techniques. Thank you for watching and listening. Good luck.